months. I started.
Good start.
So I think with the whole Instagram post or I don't
Live.
know live. Thank you. With the live, it was something. It was just a conversation. It was a very normal conversation that Steffi and I have daily, but this time it was just in front of the world, and the reactions that we had from it were overwhelming. Because there's one thing doing something and you're expecting some positive or like stardom, but for us we're having a conversation, and it was just to share an insight of our life. And after that, just understanding how people's reactions were so diverse and so different. There was so much variety. There were so many people who were so inspired, by what we spoke about. But the one thing that I actually noticed the most was how people were just praising me. And for me, I was so, I felt so good. Being praised is amazing. So I was being praised, but the one thing that I noticed, it was very one-sided. So the people that were complimenting us, they were complimenting us as a pair.
Yes.
But when it was time to criticize, the criticism was going in one direction, towards Steffi. So almost my shortfallings equals to all the things Steffi was lacking. So it wasn't even about what Jessy is lacking, it was more, that is Steffi's role as a wife. A man should never be placed in a situation where he can be that vulnerable and that weak when he has got a wife who is his backbone. So that was something that really shook me, and I saw how it impacted, Steffi big time. What we're going through is, I was going through a stage in my life where I was going through some mental issues in terms of depression. I was facing depression, and while I faced depression, I left the business that I had started. I made some very irrational decisions. And while I did those irrational decisions, because for me, I'm a person who feels a lot. So if I feel that I'm not in a good place, I can't even pretend, and I can't even I can't bring out that side of me that says, think about the future of your household, so I'm not logical in any way, no rationality in any way. So I left the company that I built with a partner of mine after 2 years. I did not know how I was going to pay for my psychologist, anything. So Steffi stepped in and she said, "Mano, I know what you're going through. I understand what you're going through. And I'm willing to cover all the costs that are required, all the sessions that are required, all the professionals that are required for you to get back up on your feet." And for me, during that time, it was not such a pleasant time to be around myself. It was very difficult for her, because even though I was going through that, I was blaming it a lot onto her. So I was actually saying, I would never be in this situation if I was with a person that was as supportive as my family has been. This is something that I've never gone through with my people, my team. And because we are so individualistic in this relationship, this is what it's led me to. So I almost took that blame, and the biggest portion I was throwing in her direction. So it was like, I was throwing in her direction, I was depressed. I'm saying was, but I'm still going through it. And she was the one who was actually willing to support me throughout that very turbulent time in our relationship. She was the one who was financially, emotionally, it almost got to a point where I felt that I was emotionally and verbally abusing her, because continuously I was throwing words, not of affirmation, but like just jabbing her and telling her how much me being weak is her fault. I think that
there are definitely a lot of people that reached out in a positive way to say we've never really experienced Burundians that are that open, and the rawness, and people appreciate. There's still a lot of people that appreciated that, but again, I think when it came to positive comments, a lot of it was us as a unit. Then you had also, I love it because my sister and my sister-in-law used to tease me. They're like, girl, you don't realize, but Jessy has grown a fan club overnight. We've been getting all these messages because people are not used to a man being that vulnerable. So he got praises for that, which there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, we need to also acknowledge that the society in which we live, it doesn't have, we're not used to being, exposed to a man that's willing to open up about challenges. Even him talking about mental health openly, we're not used to that. So there was a lot of positive reaction towards that. But then you had, I guess, the typical thinking, school of thoughts that says that as a woman, you should always, your role is really to always constantly ensure your man is being not put on a pedestal, but his happiness depends on you. You need to create an environment at home that allows him to thrive, which for me, I get where that's coming from, but again, happiness is an individual journey. So me being vocal about that had a backlash, but also I think the way they perceived it is like, but Jessy's going through a lot of that, but are we sure Steffi is creating that environment? Yet I sit and I'm like, oh my God, like there's a lot of things that happen in the background that people did not see. Like for him to wake up and leave his job, like I had a say in that, to say, Jess, there's no need in you being miserable because of a job that you're not happy. Walk away and work on yourself. Like do the therapy, like invest the time in getting well. It's not worth it, So I knew there was, sorry, I'm getting emotional, but there was a lot of effort that went into that. And then for the world to only have seen, but what has she done, And I keep also reminding people of the context, guys. We were in the middle of a pandemic and we're all trying to adjust to this whole thing, So you're trying to deal with, okay, we're locked down, it's just the two of us. We're in this small apartment. We were still living in our 2-bedroom apartment. My workload doubled, guys. And he knows, because we would be sitting in the same living room. So he knows I'm not even creating work. So you're trying to keep that afloat. You have someone who's going through mental health challenges, but no one goes to school to learn how to live with someone like that, who's going through that, Again, I think I spoke about what could premarital counseling prepare us for. I don't think we ever spoke about, again, they say through health and sickness, and we are in this together. And I'm thinking sometimes someone could go a physical sickness. In his case, it was a mental one. We were not equipped to know how to deal with that. So I'm still trying to understand what all of this means. And that was the response. And I'm like, but guys, I understand I have a role to play, and I think I've helped him, but we also need to understand who came up with this idea that you are the sole responsible party for someone's happiness. I don't hold Jessy's hostage to my happiness. So what is that mentality that, and for me, those comments came from women,
Of course.
which is what it was even more disappointing. You're like, but guys, are your husbands being held accountable for your happiness when they are going and building their careers and you're home having to give up your career and raise the kids? Is he worried, or is anyone asking him on a daily basis, are you making sure your wife is, mentally in a happy place? Because she had to give up things, dreams, Are they being asked the same questions?
Exactly.
And I want to give one example, which is a funny one, but I want to talk about the funny example because it again reminds us why men and women are always held to different standards. So listen to this. Because Jessy was going through his treatments, he needed to take medication, right? The medication meant he couldn't drink alcohol, so he stopped. Do you know that my mom asked me why I didn't stop drinking during that period? She's like, why are you drinking alone now that Jessy is not drinking? And I said, Mommy, let me ask you a question. When Grace was pregnant, did Carl stop drinking? When she was carrying the baby for 9 months, was there an expectation that Carl would stop drinking? No, it's not the same thing. But it is. Because Jessy is just being asked temporarily to put a pause. This is not permanent. He'll go back to enjoying his beer and whatever. But now, while he goes through the treatment, I can't have my glass of wine. But again, she was even shocked that I was like, but wait a second. He just had a baby. Was he expected to, he was probably still smoking and drinking. I think growing up, when the parents are trying to explain to us the benefits of marrying into the same culture, we are always like, okay, they're overdoing it. But there's benefits to that. And I think I've seen it a lot through the last 4 years we've been married, in the sense that by the virtue of me getting married to someone who was from the same country, same culture, there's moments where I've seen how beneficial it is, in the sense that currently for example, my parents are based in a foreign country. They're based in Canada, and Jessy's parents are fortunate enough to still live home in Burundi. And over the years, we've unfortunately lost extended members of our families. But the presence that Jessy's parents and Jessy's family has had in Burundi for our extended family has been incredible. And sometimes it's mind-blowing, because for them, the moment we got married, we became one family. And they understand the culture. They understand that the fact that my mom and dad may not be there physically, they are a representation of them. So they will go and show up in all important family events, whether it's on my mom's side of the family or my dad's side of the family. They have a huge presence, and I love it. I love seeing that. I mean, even recently, Jessy's dad lost his brother, his youngest brother, and automatically they informed my dad's side of the family, my extended side of the family that still lives in Burundi, and everyone showed up. They showed up for the memorial and things like that. And I'm like, that's incredible. That's incredible because this union happened in South Africa. They've actually never really lived in the same country since we got together and we became one family. My parents were in Canada, his parents were in Burundi, but it's one. We are one family, and I love that. I love the beauty of that element of the culture, and it's something that I really hope that we are going to pass on to our kids. Anything that you want to?
I think what I can add is just the idea of our culture and how they resolve conflicts or how they resolve misunderstandings in families. The one thing, as we've been married for 4 years now in December, the one thing that we've struggled with is, there's a lot. You guys know, there's a lot of things that we've struggled with, and there's many times that we have actually said, maybe this is not really what we should be doing. We are two great people, but maybe we're not compatible. And maybe going in our different directions are going to help both of us and the family, And the moment we announce or we speak our truths to our family, automatically our parents will get to a point where they say, before you make any irrational decisions, we're going to make time and we're going to come to see you guys in South Africa. We're going to sit around. We're going to speak about these things. Like adults, you're going to come up with your argument. She's going to come up with her argument. We're going to come up with a solution. So just seeing the level of investment in our cultures, in any issues, and the issue here was, us not really being too compatible, but at the same time, something as simple as buying a house or kids giving us issues. These are items that we know that we can actually speak to our parents with, and they'll be able to put us around in a circle and say, listen, this is the decision that you don't have to do alone. So there is that individualistic thing that we always think is best, but there is that sense of community that for me really impresses me, and I love the richness of it.
And it sounds like they don't take a side. It sounds
I was gonna discuss that, because I think for me what's also been amazing in that, when you were speaking about the conflict resolution, so for example, the last time that Jesse's parents were in in South Africa, and we are sitting together, we're speaking, we tell them about our issues, what we're struggling with. There's never I'm Jesse's dad and Jesse's mom, so not even anything close to that. For them, we are both their kids, equally their kids, so everyone has an opportunity to express themselves, and there's no sides, and you'll be told, okay, but I would do this differently, and it goes both ways, and I really, really, really appreciate that about, that cultural aspect. I love it. There's so much richness in it, because it really does feel like they are my parents, and they're not, they're not taking his side because they are his biological parent. The moment we really said I do, we became one for them, and I love that.
Yeah. Steffi and I have struggled with money is definitely one of the main factors, because money has always been there, hasn't been there, so it's been a very fickle thing.
So there's my relationship with money before I met Jesse, and then my relationship with money after I got into this relationship.